Hello friends, Cam here from the Nerdstravaganza podcast, coming to you from my home, not the official headquarters of the Nerdstravaganza podcast, the adventure game store in Davie, Florida. Decided to bring this game home and test it out. It's actually a brand new game that is on Kickstarter currently, Titans of Empyrean. It is a battle game with a lot of different flavors, a lot of different components that, as you can see here on the table. I'm going to go through them with you, show you a little bit of the basic gameplay, go through some of the rules, and then let you know what I think about the game. It is, like I said, this is just a prototype, so please excuse the bare nature sort of the components, but I still think they're pretty great for being a prototype. Obviously the finished product, once the Kickstarter is done and funded, is going to look much more polished. So let's get into the basic components of the game. First, we have the Titans. Obviously, it's called Titans of Empyrean, so we got to go through the Titans. We have 4 different factions. We've got the Dragon faction, we've got the Pegasus faction, we've got the Griffin faction, and the Manticore faction. Each of the factions have 4 different Titans. Like here, the one that I'm sort of going to be demoing for you guys, the Dragon faction, which is my favorite, they've got Drake, which is one of the dragons. Then they've got Rax, which is another one of the dragons. They've also got Ash and Lunar. In the Pegasus faction, they've got Smoke, and then Talon is in the Griffin faction, Jester in the Manticore faction. Really cool names, really great art, even for just being a prototype. I really like that a lot. And each one of these Titans has a different shtick. Like my guy Drake here, normally in the game you can only attack from 1 space away. Drake is, I guess, a pretty tough guy, so pretty strong fire breather, so he can attack from up to 2 spaces away. And as you can see, the little hexagon board here, these little chits here represent each of the Titans. So right here I've got Drake's chit, and he is on the board in his designated area here. Aside from the Titan cards, you have what are called maneuver cards. That's what these are here. These are all maneuver cards. You have 2 different kinds. You have active maneuvers, which are things that stay active until they are basically knocked out or you have to discard them. They're ongoing effects essentially. And then you have what are called burn cards, which are cards that that basically are sort of a one-time use, and then you burn them up. So like right here, Eye of the Storm is a burn card. Once you use it once, it goes away. And these are sort of like, just at the outset, just to avoid any confusion, sort of think of these cards not just as things that are going to help you during the game, but they're also sort of like HP. And that's where these little tokens are going to come in. These tokens are sort of my own. I just threw these in because it is a prototype, and I'm just using these for ease of reference. I don't think these will be in the actual game, but for the video, that's what we're going to use. So here I sort of have the basic setup. You've got, typically you'd have all 4 of your Titans sort of spread out with the amount of maneuver cards that each one of them is allowed to have in front of them in a stack. I've sort of separated them here so that you can see. Up here at the top, the number 4 on top of Drake shows that he has 4 maneuver. He can have 4 maneuver cards in front of him at any one given time. You get dealt 28 total cards. Each player does, and then basically each one of their Titans gets that many maneuver cards in front of them face down. So Rax would get 3, Drake gets 4, etc. Smoke gets 4, and they'd be placed in front of them like that. Then you shuffle up the remainder of your deck, of your maneuver deck, and you put it down to the side. Then what you do is you get all the little chits for whatever Titan you're going to be using, and you go ahead and you place them on the board. As you can see from the board, the hexes are different colors. Each one is a deployment zone. So basically you assign deployment zones to each of the players, and that is where they place their starting their chits, and they can basically place them anywhere in their deployment zone. The way the little hexes work, like I'll just keep working with Drake here. My buddy Drake, here he is. This little arrow right here shows which way he's facing. So right now, Drake would be facing toward, if I wanted to put him in my deployment zone and I wanted him to face Smoke, I could put him right here, or I could put him right here, and he is sort of facing towards smoke. Now, it's important to note also, just while we're talking about that, the attack zone that's why it's sort of a reverse triangle. The attack zone is the front 3 hexes of each of the chit, of each way the chit is facing. So these 3 would be Drake's attack zone, these 3 would be Rax's attack zone, and so on and so forth. So that's the basic game setup. The way that you sort of the way that you determine who goes first in deploying their Titan chits is by the numbers here at the top left. I'm sorry, the top right of the card. The person with the least highest number goes first, and then it goes in turn order all the way up to the highest, basically, in placing their chits. And that's important because then when you are actually playing the game, it goes the opposite way. The person with the highest number starts first in turn order and goes down to the person with the lowest. It's sort of like X-Wing in terms of determining player initiative. So we've talked about the cards, we've talked about the board and the chits, and the different types of cards. I just want to bring these up as well. These are sort of special cards. But these are special maneuver cards that you can also use in your deck if you want to, but they have to be used by a Titan that it's pegged to. So basically, with the little Pegasus logo here, obviously only the Pegasus faction would be able to use these. With the Mana Corps logo, only the Mana Corps would be able to use them. Griffin, Dragon, and so forth. So these are sort of special maneuver cards that you can put into your stacks if you want to spice up the game. Now we're going to get into the basic gameplay. It's pretty simple. You basically have to do one or all of the following actions. You can play the top maneuver from your stack or from your reserve stack. So I can play this maneuver or I can play this maneuver. I can add the top maneuver of my reserve stack to the bottom of one of my Titan stacks. Obviously, I couldn't do that if they were already at their maximum, but that helps once they start taking damage, and we'll explain that in a second. You can make a regular move. This is actually the only action that you have to take that's mandatory. You have to move at least one space on the hex, and obviously that's to keep people from camping out somewhere in the corner and not having to attack. You always have to move at least one space or one hex on the board. And you can attack. You don't have to attack, you can attack. So like I said, those are your 4 basic actions. The only action that is mandatory is moving one hex on the board. Now, the order in which you do that is up to you. You can do whatever you want. So say I wanted to move Drake here. Now movement sort of comes in 2 phases. You can choose to move your chit to the left or right one turn, basically. So if I wanted to move Drake like that, I can move him once to the right, or I can move him once to the left, and then decide. So if I wanted to run away, I can move him once to the left and then move forward, and I'm trying to get away from these guys. Or if I wanted to move up and just attack, I could turn them like this and then move up, and then these guys are in my arc, and I can attack one or both, one of them with my attack action. So that is significant, and the order that you decide is very significant as well, because like I said, you may want to wait on certain actions until you do other things. So that's basically how it works. So when you, let's talk about attack, because that's my favorite part of the game. So say I had Drake here, or let's talk about Rax. Let's say I had Rax here, and I wanted him, or I had him here, and I moved him, and I wanted to attack Siren here. Then basically I would choose to attack. That basically I would then look at Rax, look at his attack strength, and that is how much damage the other Titan would take. So here's my attack strength. As you can see on the instructions here, the strength is the number of damage tokens a Titan deals when it attacks. So Rax is he has a lot of defense. He's got 3 basically hit points that he can live with, or he can take before he has to start discarding cards, which we'll talk about in a second. But he has kind of a weaker attack. So basically, I would go through my actions, move racks up here, and say, okay, I'm attacking Siren. And then once that happened, then basically Siren, who is right here, would take 1 damage from rack. So we place a little token right here on there, and basically that would be it. And then so basically the game goes like that. You go down from highest to lowest from this number. You take those actions, and once the action phase is over, then you start dealing with resolution. So say after all the smoke is cleared, we fought it out, and Drake ends up with 3 damage tokens here. What happens then is that we go to the resolution phase. And so when you go to the resolution phase, you really have to be careful because you don't want your Titan to die. If your Titan goes below or goes above in terms of hit points, the number here in the little castle on the bottom right, he's dead and he's out of the game. You remove the chip from the board, and that's it. Last man standing obviously is the winner of the game. So what you would do is when you come to the resolution phase, then you have a decision to make. I can only hold 1 damage here for Drake, so what I would then have to do is discard 2 of these cards, my maneuver cards, to remove these 2 damage tokens. So then that would, or I could discard 3 and then remove all 3 and just restore him back to full health. But then, of course, I only have 1 here, and as we know from what I said before, you can only add on each turn 1 card to your Titan stack. And you only have a total of 28 cards, and that's 28 total, so depending on how many cards each 4 of your Titans gets, you're going to have a small discard pile. Like, out of the 28, Drake would get 4, Rax would get 3, that's 7, Ash would get 5, that's 12, and then Lunar would get 4, so that would be 16. So I would only have about 12 cards left in my stack, with which I can replenish my Titans. So that is really what the game boils down to. You've got to sort of strategize on the board how you want to move, where you want to go. Obviously, you want your Titans to work together to attack the other players. You also want to be able to defend your Titans. It's a really, for such a small board and such a light and simple concept, it really involves a lot of strategy, and it really involves a lot of thinking and plotting and strategizing a few moves ahead, because you got to figure out, well, if I turn this way, then I've got to move, or where's that person, where's the other person going to move to. So you've got to be very careful in terms of how you're maneuvering your Titans, where you're going, which way you're going, and how you want to employ them in terms of offense and defense. So that is sort of the game in a nutshell. There's all sorts of, I can go into what the maneuver cards are and stuff, but you guys will be able to sort of see that on your own. We can't go through all of them, but they're all really cool, and it's really balanced in terms of what you can do to each other and how you can defend that, and I really like how it comes together. So now, like I said, it's a prototype, but it's really cool that they sent along some of this art, or I guess perspective art, and they look really killer. Because, like I said, the art isn't actually finished yet, but this is some of the prototype art that they sent along. Looks amazing. If it's if it's half as cool as it looks here, I think it's going to be a really nice product when it's done. Just to fair disclosure, the people that sent us this game, they're called 9 Kingdoms Games. Doug and Ivan there, great guys. They came on the Nerdstravaganza podcast a couple weeks ago, and they sent us this game, and we told them that we would absolutely like to take a look at it, let them know what we thought. As I said, their Kickstarter is going on right now. Should you buy it? Absolutely. This game was super fun. We played it at the Adventure Game Store several times over the last few weeks during our game nights, and we absolutely loved it. It's quick, it's fast-paced, it's got a lot of things going on in terms of strategy. Like I said, you're fighting against your friends. You can be way up 1 minute and then way down because a bunch of people try to attack you. You really got to manage your resources in terms of discarding your cards to keep these hit points from killing your Titans. It's really great and adds a lot of different elements. I mean, it adds strategy in terms of movement. attack, like sort of like X-Wing and other miniatures games. So it's sort of like a miniatures game, but it's also obviously a card game. You have to manage your resources, so it's a resource management game as well. It's got a ton of mechanics all rolled into one that really meld well together and end up being a really fun, fast-paced game that you can play with your friends and have a lot of fun with. I would say that I'm really excited about seeing the finished product. I'm definitely backing the project on Kickstarter, and I can't wait to get my full copy and play the actual final version. I know they're still tweaking things, and I know there's still a few things that they're going through, but all in all, I think this is a great game. It's definitely Nerdstravaganza approved. Check them out on Kickstarter. Titans of Empyrean, Empyrean, Titans of Empyrean by Nine Kingdoms Games. Right now on Kickstarter, it's going on. Back them, and you're going to get yourself a great game.
Thank you, fans, for joining us for another Nerdstravaganza Reviews. If you'd like more Ganza goodness, why not subscribe to our channel? Visit our homepage, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook.